Hi, I'm Eric Johnson here at Vanderbilt's Owen Graduate School of Management, and I'm here today with Shan-Lyn Ma. Shan-Lyn is the CEO and founder of Zola, and it's just so great to have you here today.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Well, tell me a little bit about Zola. What are you most excited about there in their business model?
So two things. So I'm excited about the way that we've been able to innovate on behalf of the customer and the user. And I'm also excited about how we've been able to innovate in how we've created a business model that I believe is taking the best of e-commerce and marketplaces and combining it into one. So on the user-facing side, we've been able to create an experience which is an online and mobile wedding registry for engaged couples that is fundamentally different to anything else out there in that we've created an online product where couples can register for products, experiences, cash in the one beautiful place, anything that they want, and make it easier than ever before. And we have some cool, innovative, tech-driven features that lets them manage the gifts that they receive in a way that no other retailer does. On the business model side, so my background is in e-commerce, and there are challenges in e-commerce that every e-commerce business face that we have really tried to think about how can we avoid, how can we look to other business models to do things differently, and I think of it as e-commerce 2.0. So what we're doing there is we are borrowing the best of e-commerce, which is having a single unified shopping experience where you can check out for anything in the one place. We have a beautiful product catalog which we curate, we photograph, and we work directly with the brands and the vendor partners to offer over 15,000 products on Zola.com. But the difference is we are borrowing from a marketplace business model where we have been able to avoid taking on a lot of inventory ourselves because a lot of our partners are starting to drop ship, which is essentially the ability to ship direct from their warehouse to the customer. And so in doing so, we've kind of cut out an intermediate step of warehousing and inventory, which is a big innovation in e-commerce.
Yeah, and a fantastic selection. And even then, you can always give cash. Everybody needs cash.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's great. Well, your leadership team is very diverse at Zola. Tell me a little bit, how has that worked for Zola?
Yeah, I think about diversity among a couple of different dimensions. So one is gender diversity, racial diversity, sexual orientation, and then diversity of backgrounds, companies, skill sets. So our goal is to really try and show diversity across all those dimensions, and the good news is that we have been somewhat successful in doing that so far on the leadership team. I think the way that has come about has really been a combination of luck and of talking about it and thinking about it within the executive team. So when we first started, my co-founder and I, Nobu, who is a male, he and I talked from day one about what are the values and culture that we want to develop within our startup. And one of them was definitely diversity. We then, as we hired different people throughout the team and the leadership team in particular, thought about will they add a skill or dimension or perspective that we don't currently have amongst ourselves, and if they aren't very different and kind of filling a gap, then it's probably not the right thing for us to do. If they're too similar to us in terms of background or point of view, it would make our lives maybe a little easier, but in the long run, not the best thing for the business. And so with every open role that we have, we look at how can we push ourselves to be even more diverse in the way we think about hiring for that role.
And I've also seen part of your culture is collaboration, and it's something at Owen we think a lot about collaboration and teamwork. It's something that's really part of our culture. But one of the things I've seen you quoted as saying is that collaborative culture is also fast, that it
Yes.
speeds your decisions. And sometimes people don't think of collaboration and speed together in that way. So I'm curious how that works for Zola.
Yeah, so collaboration and speed were two things that we also, my co-founder and I talked about in the early days of setting up the company, was that we found in our past roles working together at Guild Group, we had the part that we really loved, and why we wanted to work together again was because we felt we had been able to collaborate well together and move very quickly. And so we talked about how do we keep that up within this company, and particularly as it grows and we hire people that we don't know, or we don't know if they're collaborative and fast. So what we try to do to encourage those behaviors in the culture is whenever we make a decision, the two key questions that we like to ask are, did you talk to this team about it? Did you talk to this team about it? What did they say? What was the conversation? To really push people to think, okay, before I want to move forward on a project, I know I'm going to be asked, did I talk to other teams to get their perspective? So let me go and get their perspective before I ask for something to be done, or a decision to be made, or progress. And so now, after asking people, who have you talked to? What was the conversation? We find people naturally have already been proactively soliciting other people's thoughts and input into any project. And then the way that we prompt for speed is anytime someone talks about what they're working on or shows me a demo, my first question is always, when is this launching? Do you think we can launch it sooner? With the goal being that we're emphasizing we would prefer to get something out rather than continuing to demo it. Mm-hmm. And so so those are really the main two questions that I ask, and I think people then realize that they don't have to have multiple team meetings or multiple sets of documentation to get something done. They need to do quick conversations. They need to go to someone else's desk on another team, and start a conversation. But it doesn't mean they need to have 3-hour meetings with every single team. And we found that's worked so far.
So by collaborating early, then it speeds the final decision and launch.
Yes.
They've really checked the boxes and figured out, what are needs and responsibilities, and go do it.
Exactly.
That's great. Well, you've been involved with a couple of different startups and learned a lot of hard knocks, I'm sure, along the way.
Yes.
Can you share a leadership lesson that you've learned?
Yes. One of the very earliest lessons that I learned when I was first starting at Guild Group, and I joined as the first product person there. And someone on the founding team came to me one day and said to me, I don't think you are a good leader because the engineering team likes you too much, and if you were doing your job properly, they wouldn't like you. And so I started behaving differently, and I started to really be unlike myself in the way that I started to ask questions, push them, and one of them, after a few days of me acting very differently, came to me, sat me down, and said, and this was a lead engineer and the CTO, and they said, we noticed you've been different. We wanted to understand, is there something going on with you? How can we help? Are you upset with something? We want to all work together in the best possible way to make great stuff. So what's going on? And it really made me realize that that someone else's perception of leadership was making me behave in a way that was very inauthentic, and as a result was not effective. And so I after speaking to the engineering team, I started to get feedback on, do you feel like you are getting the information that you need from me, that you're able to move as quickly as you can, that I'm not a roadblock, that I am challenging you in the right way? And their response was, we liked what you were doing before, and we felt that we were able to move very quickly and do great things because of your style. So don't change that. and so I somewhat went back, most of the part went back to being a nicer leader, and found that actually the products that we were able to release together as a team are some of the products that I'm still most proud of today. They were very innovative in their time and continue to be benchmarks and examples that a lot of other e-commerce companies have followed. And so I now have a much better sense of the fact that there's a lot of different ways you can lead.
Yeah, so be yourself.
Yes.
Well, Shan-Lyn, thank you so much for spending the day with us at Vanderbilt.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.